Hey, Holly.
Hey, Dave.
Well, welcome back to part 2 of our interview with BrownMark.
On the What Difference Does It Make podcast.
Yes, we were very fortunate to have him on What Difference Does It Make podcast. BrownMark was in the Revolution, I guess still is in the Revolution, the bassist in the Revolution, as in Prince and the Revolution. So it's kind of cool to have that connection and to talk with him. He's very forthright, and we're thoroughly enjoying our time with him.
Yeah, we're talking about his memoir called My Life in the Parochial Kingdom,
which is out now. So please check that out. Let's get right back into our conversation with BrownMark. One of my favorite parts of your book is kind of the stage presentation, or how they kind of transformed your look. You really did. It was kind of, you went from Jerry curls to how did they change you up? What was your they changed you into a rock star superhero. What was that process like?
I mean, again, part of that breaking process, it's like, oh, we got to strip his identity. And, because I had hair down to about right here. But it was a curl. You put grease in it and everything. And so
shoulder length Jerry curls. Is that
exactly? So, that means that the hair was twice as long, went down my back once it got pulled out. And so he just takes me to a hairdresser named Alice, which is a very funny story I tell in the book. And because I understood where a lot of Prince's humor and a lot of Morris Day's humor came from. When I met Alice, I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Because this dude was funny. And, he's like, Prince brings me in there and I'm sitting in the chair and Alice is like, oh, Lord. Oh, and he's touching my hair like this. And I'm like, who is this dude, right? And he's like, oh, my God, it's Prince. Oh, my God, these cuckabees. I don't know what you want me to do with these. And he had this really funny voice. And Prince and Morris is sitting in the seat laughing. And Prince is like, just, give him a relaxer. I didn't know what a relaxer was. So I'm just sitting there and he says, okay, I'll do something with this. And he puts all this white cream in my head and it's burning. And I'm like, this is burning. And Prince and Morris are cracking up. My head's on fire. They're laughing. And then, so he takes me over to the bowl and he rinses me off. And then, he's combing through my hair and it's like, I look like a woman. I mean, he's combing my hair like, mama combs grandma's hair, and he's brushing through it. I mean, I was just like, what am I going to do with this? Tie it in a ponytail? I mean, I didn't know what to do with it. And I go home. I wake up the next morning because I don't know you put a wrap on it. I don't know none of that. And so it's like all tangled up. And I look like I stuck my finger in a light socket. I look like Don King on steroids. Seriously. And my mother screamed because she thought an intruder was in her house. She thought a crazy man was in her house. But that's my transformation story,
So what did you do with it?
I put a hat on. I didn't know. Yeah, I had no clue how to maneuver it. And he didn't teach me anything about it for months. Now, when we did the first video, when we did the controversy video, he came in with some scissors. Oh. He just starts, he doesn't ask. He just comes in and says, let me just fix this. And he just starts cutting my hair. He had this thing coming down looking like his in the front and these sideburns coming way down here. And it was all short in the back and all. And I was like, oh my gosh, I look crazy. I look absolutely crazy.
Well, I looked for one of my first questions I was going to ask you is if you have any pictures of immediately after getting the hair done because I wanted to because I couldn't find any.
Back then, we didn't know what Polaroids were and all that. That's only for the rich kids, I only have my memory, So.
Well, we do have the controversy video, which is always fun.
That was after the cut.
There's a little bit of choreography to that. Is that just you watch what Prince is doing and you just kind of follow along? Or was that choreographed at all? Just little steps?
I was a dancer. I was a dance player. I never sat. And I remember he used to just ask me to make up little steps. For the most part, me, Dez, and Prince didn't do choreography. There was just little spurts here and there where we would do a little movement. But choreography really didn't start coming in until 1999. That's when it became a big thing. Because he realized, he's like, oh, he can dance and play. Because, that's how I played. I entertained. I just wiggled a lot and did my thing. And he realized that, that would look cool if the whole band would do these types of movements. He kind of gave me that job. He left it to me. And he said, come up with some steps and show the guys. He'd come walking in the rehearsal. He says, what are you guys doing? And then he would join in and he would say, so you're doing this? And he would join in. And then, of course, Prince would add Prince to it. And then it became a glorified thing. So.
Did you get the actual title of choreographer?
No. I didn't get any titles.
Yeah.
I just got the title of the bass player, He used to call me Cutie Pie. That used to make me feel a little uncomfortable. I was like, why are you calling me Cutie Pie on stage? And all the dudes is looking at me like, yo, what's up, man? I'm like, hey. Hey. Back then, it was an uncomfortable thing because I didn't know anything about androgyny. I didn't know that lifestyle. I didn't know anything. I was very sheltered,
It was the times too. Yeah.
But that's what you portrayed in your book is, you're just kind of this naive kid. He's 19-year-old plucked from obscurity and thrown you into this whirlwind.
Yeah.
And you kind of learn as you go.
That's it. Yeah. Learn as I go. But as my mom would say, you give it 1,000%. It wasn't 100%. She said you give it 1,000%. Yeah. Like, okay, what does that mean? But I got it. I understood what she was saying. Go above and beyond.
Yeah. Was she the bird in your ear about the doubt when he was starting to treat you less than great? Was she aware before you?
No. She only knew when I would tell her. I would tell her how he was as a person. And I remember when he met her for the first time. My mom was mean. She was mean. Didn't play no games with him. She didn't care. I don't care who you are. She's calling a little short that you ain't gonna come up in here. My mother was just like that. She reminded me of Medea. Tyler Perry. My mother didn't play no games. She didn't play. And Prince used to laugh all the time. He loved my mother because she was just like, she was to all my musician friends. She became mom to all of them.
She seemed pretty tolerant, even though she was strict. She seemed pretty tolerant of all of them, all of the guys that you brought home.
Absolutely, she understood us. Yeah. She understood how wild we were, how wild we became.
She was actually your manager. Her and your friends, and your friend's mom were both the manager of Fantasy. That started?
By default, they kind of just took the position. I ruined her car. And so I became like the slave to my mother, driving her around everywhere. And so eventually, she got a hold of my growth in the music industry. And then she just came in and took it over. The next thing I know, you have a gig next Saturday. I was like, what do you mean we have a gig next Saturday? Because you're going to be playing at the Nakarima Club. I was like, well, we already play at Nakarima Club. Yeah, but I'm taking charge. Now it's me and B. It was Beatrice. It's like, me and B are taking charge. It's like, it's okay. And so they got us a little more money. They were a little tougher. And so, it all worked out.
I think everybody needs a mama Vader.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, besides your love of music, you also apparently have a huge love of cars.
Yes.
First of all, tell me about your 1974 mustard yellow Malibu Classic.
Well, after I destroyed my mother's car, completely totaled it. Yeah. Because illegally, I was driving illegally when I destroyed her car, but she never bought a new one. And I had earned her trust back, and I told her that I needed a vehicle. I needed to get around. And so she said, well, she taught me how to go buy a car. And she said, I'll co-sign for you if they need it. She didn't go with me. She just taught me what to do. I went into the dealership myself and I purchased my first car. And they said, well, we're going to need a co-signer for you. And I was such a hustler. And then I had a job at the Pancake House. I mean, I had steady income. I had it all. Didn't know what credit was. Didn't know what any of that was. But I knew that I had what I needed. And I went in there and I sold myself to the dealer. And they gave me the car and gave me the loan. And my mother came in and co-signed. Whatever that meant at the time, you know, I didn't know what that was. But I was like, oh, I get to drive this off the lot. Yeah. So here I am, a 16-year-old kid with a car. I was one of the only kids in the neighborhood, you know, that had a newer car. So you know me, I'm putting the rims on. I got curb fillers and I got dice hanging down, killer stereo system. I mean, I totally decked this thing out. You know, I became one of the cool kids.
So that was the first car.
Yeah, that was my first one.
And of course, you name all your bands after cars. You got
that's true.
Mazarati. You had, what was it? The girl group was
Mercedes.
Mercedes. What are you driving now? What's your
drive
baby?
Cadillac. I drive a Cadillac. I never thought I would be driving a Cadillac. You know.
Look at you.
Yeah, but you know what? I love them. Yeah, I drive the SUV, and it's just a great car. And when I took it for a test drive, I was like, you know what, okay. Because I was an Acura man. I drove the Acuras. But then I went from Acura to Cadillac. So that's where I'm at right now.
That still seems pretty toned down from what you had been driving.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what? I learned in life that my manager used to always tell me, you got to stop buying these cars. I mean, I had Ferraris and fancy Jags and he said they're dead assets. And I never understood what that meant. And as I started losing money and losing dead assets, I realized, okay, they don't give you any money back, but yet they deteriorate and their value goes down. So I started to learn as I got older what that meant. Now I'm smart enough to realize that, I would love a two-seater. I love the new Corvettes, but I've owned 4 Corvettes. I already know what that's about and what it felt like. I don't need to buy another one. Yeah. I need something that's practical and it works.
Wow. Okay.
That comes with age, for sure.
Exactly.
Damn, it sucks growing old and learning these things.
I wanted to find out how you ended up in Atlanta.
That's a long story. But the long story short, my sister has MS and she wanted to move away from the Bay Area. But because of her insurance, she can only move into certain states that carried that particular insurance. Atlanta was one of the states. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, she came here to visit a couple of times. She said, I think I want to move to Atlanta. So I knew that, I know how my sister is. And we're very close. We're like twins. And so I was like, I need to always be close to her because of the MS and I don't want her to ever feel alone. So I said, okay, I'll move there too. And that's how I ended up here. And then she never came. I was like, I'm going to wring your neck, but I love her. She's like my partner, man, partner in crime. Ended up here, so I'm stuck here. Then I come here and I get divorced, and so now I'm really stuck. I'm just like, dang, can't get a break.
Oh, well, it's a good place to be, though, Atlanta. I understand it's a good.
It's nice. It's a little slow for me, but it's nice. It's nice. Yeah. I don't know how long I'll be here, but it's nice. I like it.
And the music scene? How's the music scene there?
The music scene is a little different. It's not what I thought it would be. It's more, if you're in the trap and hip hop and,
right.
You could really do well here. For what I do, it's a rougher go at it, but I'm still working it. I'm working the scene. We'll see what happens.
When you toured around the world, did you have a favorite city anywhere in the world where you're like, oh, these are the best audiences? Or they were really into what we did.
Well, I mean, there's cities that definitely had the better audiences. DC, no, I'm going to go first. Detroit. Detroit was incredible. You can't beat the Detroit Prince fan. They love. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, Detroit was just on fire. And then, I think his name was Mojo, the DJ. He's the one that really broke or exposed Prince to the Detroit people. And man, they just, something about Detroit. We were on fire there. We would be booked there at a auditorium, 10 nights in a row. Leave, come back, and do another 2 or 3 nights. It's just, and I'm talking big coliseums. I'm not talking, I'm talking Joe Louis Arena. We're playing like shows.
Isn't that where Purple Rain the tour started there?
Yeah, Joe Louis. Yeah,
I remember when we were watching MTV, they had that was, they had like his first, I remember they were playing his shows at Joe Louis, and that was phenomenal.
Yeah, we were there, man. We were there for over a week and left, came back for another week. So then we went to DC, man, same thing, DC, but not like Atlanta, but DC was another, I think we did 10 nights in DC, big places, packed, sold out. And then Houston, Texas. Houston was on fire, man. They loved them some Prince down in Houston. So those would be like my top 3 cities as far as Prince fandom. They love Prince in those 3 cities.
Amazing. And you also tell how during the Purple Rain tour, you were during sound checks, you were working on Prince has already moved on practically. You're doing the around the world in a day type sessions. Was that surprising as to the direction he was headed?
During the Purple Rain?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were already he was on this Beatles kick. You could always tell where Prince was going by his clothing. Yeah, from the 1999, he was into the whole Elvis Presley, our collars were way up here and, everything was big and it was very Elvis-y, but glitzy with the purple and glam and all that. And then Purple Rain was, of course, about the movie. And it was a kind of a spin-off from the 1999, a more glorified look. But then all of a sudden he's got the bangs, short hair, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? What are we getting into here? Yeah, next thing you know, he's trying to put me in hip huggers and bell bottoms. I'm like, dude, I ain't wearing hip huggers. And he tried to put me in hip huggers. I mean, like the ladies be wearing, where with the little chain over my waistline. And I was like, dude, no, I'm not built like you, Prince. You can't put me in that. I'll be looking a little crazy out here. And so, we were back and forth, and he did get me in them, but they had a waistband, but so that was this whole Beatles thing, he was going for.
Yeah.
And then after that, when we did the Around the World in a Day, we were already now working on Parade. So he was always about a year and a half in front of the next project.
All right, we're going to stop it right here. We are still talking with BrownMark of the Revolution, as in Prince and the Revolution, and we will be right back.
I'm Christy.
And this is Josh.
And we are The Mountains and the Sea.
It's a podcast about Prince and his vast musical output.
We look at each and every Prince album.
And ancillary material like fashion, videos, related artists, B-sides, remixes, outtakes.
We choose a high, the mountain, a low, the sea, and a time capsule.
Yeah, those are her dumb rules, not mine.
Josh is a Prince superfan and has been since long before I met him.
That's right, and I pulled Christy over to the purple side with my wit and my charm.
The music helped. Join us every other week, anywhere you get your podcasts, and happy purple listening, friends.
And we're back with BrownMark on the What Difference Does It Make podcast.
When you came into the studio to make 1999 or Purple Rain or whatever, were the arrangements already set, and it's just like you know, he knew what needed to be done, or was it mostly Prince, or how much input did you have in the studio during those sets?
I didn't start having any input until after 1999. 1999 was when he started bringing me into the studio, but our voices were so similar behind the mic. I was never a lead singer. I didn't know how to lead sing, and so I didn't develop that until like Motown days. And,
right.
You know, I had this like Elvin and the Chipmunk thing going on where, you know, my voice was way up here, you know. So that's all development. But when he wrote a song in, you know, the 1999 song, my line was "Sky was all purple, there were people running everywhere." That's my line. And because he sang it, I already knew what it was supposed to sound like, so I didn't have to second guess it. I just sang it. And then he goes, "Whoa, you sound like me." And he says, "Okay, we'll do something different." And so he would give me a different part. He'd go. And so that was that. I never sang in the studio again because he could just sing all my parts because I sounded just like him. I mean, I sound just like him. And so he was like, he didn't need me. And then I wasn't doing bass lines until we started working on the Purple Rain stuff. And so when Purple Rain came about, he pretty much gave me my freedom because by then I was molded. I was what he wanted. He built the machine, and I knew exactly what he wanted all the time. So Computer Blue, you know, he never said, "Okay, here's the bass line." No, he'd come up with something, you know. And so for me, it was really easy because I had that free reign.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Every once in a while, he'd bring a bass line to me like Darling Nikki, you know. I had to learn that. And there was a couple of Lady Cab Driver, that was Prince. Mm-hmm. And then I had to relearn his style. That was Prince on the bass on the album. Yeah. So there were certain songs that he did, but our styles were so similar at the time.
Yeah.
Visually too.
Yeah.
Was there a time where you felt like I should get song credit for this? Or,
absolutely.
You know? Okay. And
all the time.
In your book, Prince always says, "I'll take care of you, don't worry." But publishing wise, he did not take care of you. Was there any way to fight that?
I didn't know. I didn't know enough about it. Again, you know, I was so naive, and then I was so stripped down and being retaught by him, you know, that everything I learned from that point on was mostly from him about the business. So he's only going to show me what he wants to show me. So I didn't know a lot about how it worked. It wasn't until I left him that I started learning the business, really learning it. And, you know, there were people like Benny Medina who stepped in, helped me a lot, getting started with my production career. And, you know, I was able to do some work with a couple different record labels that really started teaching me how this stuff works. And then I had to hire a lawyer and I had to hire a manager. And so now I'm starting to learn. But during all that time period, it was a trust thing. I had learned to trust him because I became that soldier. It was like, "Yes, sir," you know, and I trusted him with everything, you know. So when he says, you know, "Well, don't worry about it, you know, I got you, I'm going to take care of you," I believe that, see.
So there were quite a few songs that you should have been credited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Songs I should have, beyond credit, should have been a co-write. Yeah. And Girls and Boys should have been a co-write. I wrote the music, the bass and drums to that, not the music, the bass and drums to that whole groove, which is the song. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. That's all me. I wrote that for Mazarati, you know, but I never got credit for that. Kiss, of course, everybody knows that story. Never got anything for that. When the album first came out, I was so insulted. I went screaming at him because it gave Dave Rifkin, the engineer, credit for producing and writing. And I was like, what? You know, this is my groove. He didn't lift a single finger and play a single instrument. That was all my doing. You know, he did what he does best as an engineer producer. You know, he had his little tricks with the equipment, but the music, what that song came from me, and I did not get the credit for that. And it was almost like a spit in my face. So that was like the straw that broke the camel's back with my relationship after the Kiss stuff.
It deteriorated after that, the relationship.
Yeah, because I knew that I'll never get anywhere as long as I stay in this. He'll just bleed me and I'll never get anything from it. And I knew that was the mentality. I don't blame him. It's just when you're on top, that's how you stay on top. So I never blamed him for it. It's just I had to make a decision at that point. He's got to protect his brand. He's got to protect, the empire he built. And you can't have another general trying to rise to the top. He had chopped me down. And so I understood that because I came very aggressively once I started learning. See, I was a different beast. And, I had to make a decision, start fighting him or leave. And I just realized it was, I had my time and I gave him my best years. And I said, it's time for me to move on. And so we parted, and he had a really great respect for me after that, though. It was almost like he was proud that I took it so well, and maintained the friendship with him and communicated with him. I mean, I never became bitter, even though I was angry inside. I never showed him my bitterness. And so I think he had a lot of respect for that. And I wasn't a yes man. See, I wasn't like, yes, Prince, no Prince. If I didn't like something, I'd tell him, man, that sucks. I was like, man, that's whack. What do we, no, that's weak, bro. We can't do that. I wasn't afraid to tell him how I felt, and I think he liked that too. Because he has a lot of yes men around him. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, Prince. Oh, that sounds great. That's wonderful. Oh, that's the best. You never get that out of me. If I thought it sucked, I'd be like, dude, why are you singing like that? You sound like Michael Jackson. I would just tell him how I felt. And I think he liked that. He liked the honesty, the raw honesty he got out of me. And then when I left, it even became even more, He even gave me a little room at Paisley Park, put a studio up in there. I started getting some business. He kicked me out.
Of course. So it's interesting. I mean, I guess you still have that trust factor when you knew about Prince because when you had Mazarati, it says you were wearing you were known as the Shadow, and you had this mask on, so people didn't know who you were. Yeah. But when the time came to sign this band, Mazarati, Prince, of course, knows all, and he's he can see it all, and he knew what was going on, and you still signed with him.
Yeah, I didn't know how he found that out. I was trying to keep it hidden from him. We were getting ready to shop for a deal, and he got wind that group was my group. Because everybody was like, how is this group rising so quickly? There's got to be something behind this, because these guys came out of nowhere. Yeah, my mom's basement. With all the knowledge that I was taking and learning from Prince. So that's why they appeared so polished. Yeah. So he knew something in the way they dressed, the androgyny, the fishnet stockings with the ripped jeans and the hair. And he knew something was behind this, and he found out it was me. And he flew me out to LA and picked me up at the airport. And I'll never forget it. I was like, what's this all about? And he's like, I know you have a band. I was like, never forget that. I dropped my head and I was like, oh man, how did he find that out? And then he goes, look, he says, us brothers need to stick together. I know you have a band. We need to stick together. And he gave me this whole spiel, and I was just like, and I fell for it. And I was real reluctant. My manager was mad at me. He's like, this is a mistake, Mark. This is a mistake. But for me, I was just like, that loyalty thing, I don't know. I guess he had broke me down so far, and I'd become such a soldier that I was still, I had that loyalty, he'd say, attention. And I'd be like, oh, no, and I still had that kind of thing that, yes, sir. When he told me that, we should stick together, and he said, don't worry, I'm going to make sure it's right and blah, blah, blah. I was just like, okay, this one more time, let me give him this shot, the benefit of the doubt. And it was the biggest mistake of their career for me to sign with Paisley. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lost classic. I still hear people talk about the band and, what could have been one of those, what could have been.
They would have been the Black Guns N' Roses. Absolutely. They were on fire. That group, no matter where we went, no matter where I booked them, they were on fire. They were on their way to be superstars. And next thing you know, I'm in Europe, stuck in a hotel room for many months.
This is for Under the Cherry Moon, right? This is
only to come back and find that the whole thing has just been like the legs were taken out from under it. And I had to figure out how to patch that back together. It was the group was in shambles, and it was almost like they lost their leader because I was nowhere around. And they started calling themselves Prince's Band. They started doing interviews, and they're telling people that, Prince found us at this and this, or I went to school with them. And, and I was like, I'm hearing these interviews, and I'm like, what is going on? So it took me a lot that's my next book. My next book is going to be The Rise. It's called After the Rain. Nice. And it's from after Purple Rain moving forward to today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Glad that's in the works.
Yeah. It's called After the Rain, and there's going to be a whole chapter, The Rise and Fall of Mazarati, because that's a story within itself that's going to blow people away. Because, man, I ain't never been that close to success than with them. I could just feel it. We were like right on the cusp.
Prince kept you in Europe. I know I want our listeners to read the book, for more of the Mazarati story, but he kept you in Europe away from the band intentionally.
We had them in LA staying in hotel rooms at my expense. A bill being racked up, not only just the hotel bills, but the cartage fees, the studio fees, the limo rides, everything, the per diems. And all of this was racking up against me. I didn't even know they were there. And so a lot of stuff happened during that time period that I found out about. Not just with Mazarati, I mean, some of my other groups too, man, just some real, just underhanded stuff, and I was like, wow, what is this a coup to destroy BrownMark? Because, and I'm not just talking about the Purple Camp. I mean, I was dealing with stuff. Yeah. I was putting out fires with all kinds of other things that I was doing. Giorgio Alentini, I don't know if a lot of people remember him, but, I financed this guy and moved him in my house and took him off the street. And next thing I know, he got a record spinning on the radio, and I'm driving down the street, and I'm like, wait, what just happened here? And so I started really quickly learning crash course in how cutthroat this business is. Crash course for me. That was my wake-up call. So that's my next book.
Yeah.
I mean,
be first in line.
In your mind, was there a reason that Prince pulled the plug on Mazarati, or? Well,
Prince didn't pull the plug on them. But what happened was, I think it got to a point where it just didn't benefit him. And so he just let it go. He tried to do his thing, but they were loyal to me. Like he broke me, I broke them. Yeah. I broke them down. Their loyalty to me was solid. So he could not do what he wanted to do with them. So he tried to start taking them apart, try to form a group called with Tony Lamont, who later passed away. But he's trying to do a thing called the Cocoa Boys. And it was with one of my members and Mickey Free. And, he was just trying to dissect it and pull it apart because it wasn't working the way he wanted it to work. And when I got wind of it, I was on my last tour, Parade. Only thing I could do is try to support them from a distance. And drugs, alcohol, just, they lost their leader. I mean, they didn't have no direction, no support, because I was not in the picture. And so they kind of just fell apart. They fell apart by the seam, you know. I couldn't save it. I couldn't fix it. And I got blamed for years. I got blamed by those guys for a lot of the stuff that happened to them. But I wasn't even, I had nothing to do with it. It was their record label. It wasn't me. So it's the way it was.
Learning experience. I guess you chalk it up to experience. And speaking of experience, so what did you enjoy the book writing process? It's completely different, or is it different than creating a song?
I loved it. It's my dad was a writer. He talked to me a little bit about writing and how it'll make you feel. My therapist, one of the ones that said, you need to, express yourself, write it down, talk about that stuff. Don't keep it inside you, because it'll kill you, stress. So I started to let the stuff out. One thing I learned in life, it doesn't pay to be nice, but, but, in writing the book, I was able to really start re-exploring a lot of the pain that I was feeling. And I went in alcoholism and deep depression. So I fell off for many years because of a lot of the stuff that I was trying to endure and trying to cope with from a young age into manhood. And I didn't know how to process it. And so I started to write the book. Over a 15-year period, it was finally finished. He passed away. He knew I was writing it, because I told him. Me and him had now mended a lot of our turbulent past, and we had become friends again. I had let him know. He would fly me out to Paisley Park quite frequently when he was trying to put together new bands and stuff, and so he would fly me out. But me and him got to have a lot of deep conversation. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that, I never got to talk to him about was how I felt about how he treated me back in the day. And that was the next thing next time I saw him, that's where I was going to go. And I never got that opportunity.
So writing the book has to help that process too. I would imagine writing this book has to.
Yeah, that was, what is it? Cathartic. It was like, okay. Now I'm feeling better. Stuff is coming out and I'm like, I'm typing around. And it was a job for the editors, because when her name was Carmen Hoover, and she started editing, and she wanted to bring my voice back to the story, because I had some other people working on the book, and it kind of lost that edge, that rawness. And so Carmen was helping bring it back, and she knew me back in the day. So she could feel a lot of the anger, in the book. And, so there was certain things she was like, I think you should leave that out because of this. And so she was able to really make it to where it's readable and not just a lot of emotions, Right. She was able to really bring it into that story form to where it was understandable.
Your tone is very respectful in the book. Considering some of the situations you endured. I know it was the good to go along, with the bad, Absolutely. But I think found it to be very respectful and
I attribute a lot of that to Carmen, Carmen Hoover, because she, like I said, she grew up in that time period. She used to go out with one of the security guards, and so she knew me, she knew how I felt, what I was going through, and so she was really able to help me keep it respectable, because that's what I wanted. I didn't want a dirty book. I didn't want a book that's bashing. That wasn't the point of it. The point of this book is there's a lot you can learn about humanity, about, dignity and pride and owning things and rising above the drama and the trauma that happened. I had PTSD for a long time. Wake up in the middle of the night, B flat. Oh.
Well, I have to say, reading this book was just was a joy to read. It was quite a journey you put us on, and we really enjoyed it. And apparently, Questlove also enjoyed it. He gives you the prologue, and
How did that come to be? I'm curious. Were you friends? Did you ask him to do it?
I don't. I do know him, but not as well as like Wendy and Lisa really know him. But I got to meet him a couple times. He's just a cool dude. And he was so versed on Prince. I was like, man, he'd be the best person to ask. And so we just reached out to him. Oh. And I just asked him. He said, yeah, heck yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we sent him the pages, the earlier drafts, and he read it, and boom, he jumped right on board. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah.
He's great.
He even get his support, it just showed that he recognized me and he knew my struggle. That's what blew me away, is how well he knew my struggle before anybody else did. So, he's a great researcher. He's a musical historian, if you ask me.
Oh, for sure. You should read his book. His biography is amazing.
Yeah.
Autobiography.
Yeah.
He's always been a student of music, of pop music, and huge music fan. So that's nice. That was really wonderful. I'm happy to hear that you're still writing music. I just you have that Empty Handed. I just listened to that, and that's a great song. I love that. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Really nice. So are you enjoying that? And then, you also played with the Revolution. Is it nice to have the band back together?
It's nice. It's nice to be back in the music industry. I was coming back about 2014. I was making my way back. My kids, I raised two boys. They're grown. And so, I didn't have as much of the weight on my shoulders, because they were my number one priority, to make sure that I had bonded with them.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I didn't want it to be like it was with my dad, which I had no bond. So once they got to a certain age, then I was like, okay, let me try this music thing again. And then Prince passed away. It was really sad. And so everything kind of shifted directions. Yeah. But the Revolution now became more of a part of my new game plan, because we talked about going back on the road, and then I would hold off my solo thing until after we got that established. So Revolution's kind of established now. That's why you see me doing more music on my own. But now the industry is so different. Yeah. It's hard. It's a different beast out there.
It's a good time to be a book writer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so where do things stand now with the Revolution?
We don't know. This Corona has really shut that down. It was something that I enjoyed doing. We did, good 4-year run. Hopefully it will continue next year. We'll start up again. There's so many places we didn't get to go to.
Yeah.
Germany, Australia. There's a lot of people that we missed, and we really want to go back and play for them. So we have to see what happens with this. But in the meantime, I'm working on BrownMark, and then I have my new band, the Bad Boys of Paisley. And, we're pretty funky mess. The cool thing about it is it's still trying to find the right fit musically for the time. And Empty Handed seems to be the one that kind of put me in the right place. I feel really good about this single. And now it's just pushing it, which is a difficult thing, because nowadays if you don't have a $200,000 budget to slap behind promo, it's like you got to just do it the old street. Okay. So I appreciate you guys even mentioning it, because that's how people hear about it, on all digital platforms. Go pick it up.
Yes.
There you go.
Don't just stream it, buy it.
Nice.
Yeah.
People don't realize if you don't buy it, we can't keep making it. It's like, back in the day, it cost $40,000 to record an album, or to one song on an album.
Right. Nowadays,
it's averages $2,000 to $5,000 per song. You put a 5-10 song compilation together, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 out of your pocket.
Yeah.
That's expensive when you got streaming services that they'll let people stream it, and they'll send me a check for $6.
Yes.
I got a check for $6. I said, you gotta be kidding me, right?
Yeah. I know, it's your life here.
It's
your life's work, and I know it's tough. All right. Well, anyway, we've taken up so much of your time. This has been really, it's been so much fun. We really enjoy this. But before you go, though, I want to send my condolences. In your book, you say Mama Vader passed away this year. It's obviously from your talking about her, she's still very much alive in your heart. And,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, this book is a nice tribute to her, and a great tribute to the life that you led for a decade or more, actually, through all through your adolescence. So, highly recommend picking up this book, BrownMark's My Life in the Purple Kingdom, available now. Lay down some cash, would you?
It'll be worth your while for sure.
Yeah, it was a great read.
Support local artists. That's all I can say.
There you go. 100%, 1000% agree. You put 1000% into this book, so
Thank you.
Do this. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. We really loved it.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Come back for the next book.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, the next book, and then I got a fiction book that I'm writing based on childhood fantasies, and it's almost like a Harry Potter type thing, but it's really cool.
Spectacular.
Oh, fun! Wow.
I know. He's got a second.
It's almost like the Sandlot kids, you know what I mean? Or the Rat Pack, or what do they call them? Brat Pack. I mean, it's a really cool concept for a story, and it's based on a true story, but it's pretty awesome. Yeah, you guys are going to like that one.
This is great. I love it.
I'll be first in line.
I love it. Second career. Well, again, thank you so much. This was, I loved it. And we look forward to hearing everything else from you. So please stay safe. All right.
Yeah.
Keep enjoying Atlanta for the time that you'll be there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And just so people know too, if people don't know how to get in contact with me, everything is on BrownMarkOfficial.com.
Perfect.
Everything.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Social media, everything. You could tap in from there. That could be kind of like the gateway.
We will lead people there. That'd be great.
We will. We will absolutely on our social media.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
You guys take care.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye. Peace.
Bye.
Okay, so that was a lot of fun. I mean, come on.
Wow.
Yes. We're talking to a guy from the Revolution, BrownMark, author of My Life in the Purple Kingdom. He's got a lot going on. If you're interested, as he mentioned on our podcast, but please tell me again, where can I find BrownMark info?
You can find anything on BrownMark, including, links for the book, and you can check out his new music at BrownMarkOfficial.com.
And you can also check out everything about What Difference Does It Make, the podcast, at WDDIMpodcast.com. Also, social media, we're pretty good on that. Holly's good on that. What we got? Where can you find us?
So you can find us on Facebook at WDDIM Podcast, or you can just search for What Difference Does It Make podcast. But make sure you include podcast in there.
Exactly.
You can find us on Instagram at WDDIM Podcast, and same for Twitter. And now you can check us out on YouTube. We'll be posting little clips and audio bursts.
Yeah, fun stuff.
It's new, so check it out.
Yeah, it is fun, and we keep it all 80s. And I'm sure during this week we will post a lot of print stuff and a lot of BrownMark. So there's always something going on. So please subscribe, give us great reviews, and we will love you forever. So until then, this is Dave.
This is Holly.
Check you later.
Over and out.